these are the kind of videos I really like to do. I think there's a lot of great information in it. What is going on, guys? And welcome back to the channel. Don't forget our 5,500 subscriber giveaway. So go ahead and hit that button. Today we are going to build Ruby Sapphire, but we're not going to do it how you might think. We're going to do it a way that we used to. And well, the new format is underway and we have enough examples to be able to do it. We're taking top 2 finishing place event deck lists and putting them into a spreadsheet, and then using that information to give you guys the deck core, the tech choices, the most commonly played ratios into a deck, and then my version of the deck list, because sometimes it's those uncommon tech cards that win you those events. This deck so far in the 125 recorded tops spreadsheet linked down below has 6 second place finishes and 2 first place finishes. It is the #1 overall deck so far in this format. So we're starting with the deck that is the best. We are building the best. How do we want to build this deck? So right here, first off, deck core. These are the minimum ratios played in 100%. All 8 of the deck lists played these cards at these ratios minimum. Some of them may have played Grimoire at 4, some of them maybe played Medusa at 2, but all of them played at least 2 Tala, 1 Medusa. These cards are, again, the base minimum. So we see Tipo in there as part of the ramp engine. For the ramp engine, we really see Tipo in there. The new Sail the Azurite Sea, allowing you to ink twice in the turn and draws a card, so it replaces itself as well. Gives a lot of good consistency and just resource advantage that way. And then we also see the How Far I'll Go as the card ramp of choice, which again, it's another consistency card. I absolutely love How Far I'll Go. Otherwise, we see more consistency cards in there in Tala and the Hiram. Then you have some of your power cards in character forms, such as your Medusa and your Maleficent for removal. And then your Tamatoa as your finisher / get your items back and just beat your opponent down with the big body. More actions, you have utility, you have the consistency of vision. Looking at the top 5 cards is always going to be OP, especially for a 2-cost inkable card. And then Brawl, especially this early in the format where aggro is all over, especially purple steel aggro. So Brawl being able to take out a lot of aggressive threats without needing to challenge them. This deck isn't that upfront. This is a backloaded deck that uses ramp to get there even faster. If you can get to turn 5, 6 really, and you're up to like 7, 8 ink, this deck just completely takes over the game between things like Sisu, Be Prepared, Lucky Dime, closing it out just like that. It's easy to get like 10 lore in a single turn in this deck. You slap a Tamatoa down, next turn you come down with a dime, and then you tap that dime on your Tamatoa, or you quest your Tamatoa first, grab another item if you have the ink to play it, and then tap your dime, and then hit your Tamatoa that way. Very, very easy to get like 10 plus lore in a single turn. This deck, though, you just got to survive those first 4 turns, 5 turns, and then swing the momentum back into your favor. So these are the minimums played. What about some of the tech cards? We see Queen of Hearts, the 2-cost. It's a rush 2/2 character played in there again because it's rush, and with so many aggro decks early on, slapping a card down on turn 2 that can challenge into a 1-drop right away is going to be helpful. Likewise, Sisu Daring Visitor, a card that when played can just remove a character that has 1 strength. And guess what? A lot of those high questers on the early turns, your Maleficent, your Lilo, your Daisy Ducks, these characters, your Curse Merfolks have 1 or lower strength. And inadvertently, it also hits things like Hiram in the mirror match, which is very strong. A couple higher cost characters, Scar, again, a late character, rush. It's kind of like Be Prepared, except you save your board. Very often this card comes down and you can strategically take out 3 opponent's characters, because when he banishes a character in a challenge, he can ready himself. So you slap him down, take out a small character, ready himself, take out another character, ready himself, and then you crash into the big character and you get a 3-for-1 trade-off while saving your board, unlike a Be Prepared. Mufasa, I'm still not super keen on this card in this deck. I like this card a lot more in Sapphire Steel. I think they take advantage of it better. In this deck, though, it still functionally does the same, resetting your Inkwell and allowing you to play a lot of big threats all at one time. I just think that in this deck, I don't think the payoff is as good as Sapphire Steel. However, it was played in one of those 8 lists as a one-of. Another consistency card that kind of went by the wayside as Visions of the Future came out, because looking at 5 is way better than looking at 2. However, you still get to look at 2 for the cost of 1 and add it to your hand. Consistency is never a bad thing. If you're looking for a card and you truly don't know what to add, you're digging through your binder, you just don't have a card to add, this is a great option to slot in there. What if you fall behind a little bit too far in those first 4 or 5 turns? A Pirate's Life might be for you. Making your opponent go -2 lore while giving yourself +2 lore, that's a 4 lore swing. The +2 isn't as important, but the subtracting 2 from your opponent is. If they get up to, say, 16, they might just be able to coast the game out before you get to those multiple Sisus, B-preps, things like that. However, if you can knock them back down to 14, that's a big deal. So that's why we're seeing this card being played in some deck lists that are doing really, really well. Some people really like to dig, and they want to go 7 cards deep and add 2. So dig a little deeper. Should you play it? I mean, if you want to as a one-of, I'm not going to say no. The card has proven for the last couple formats now that, hey, I'm a good one-of. Gold Coin, another new card. So why Gold Coin? What does Gold Coin offer you? Well, you can exert it and pay 1 ink, banish this item, and then ready chosen character. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. However, it's a 1 cost. You can throw it down, and then when your characters start challenging later, you can tap it, banish it, pay the 1, and then ready your character and challenge into another character. Another 1-drop item that functions similar, if you will. Shield of Virtue. Being able to ready chosen character. Again, it costs 3. This item stays there. There's some similarities, some differences in between the two. And then our last 2 are Fishbone Quill and Greatstone Dragon. Just a couple ramp tools that, as the formats have developed and as we've gotten a bigger card pool, started to see less play. People are opting for the Tipo, the Sail the Sea, the How Far I'll Go, because characters on board are usually stronger, especially because you don't necessarily need the item count in this deck. You have other items in the 1-drop spot because of Ruby. Then your Sail the Sea, you get to draw a card, and you can ink up to twice then. So again, it kind of replaces itself and works in that similar function. And then How Far I'll Go is another consistency card that allows you to ramp. What if we look at those 8 decks and say, what about the most common ratios? This next deck list I'm going to go over is every card that was played in over 50% of them and the most common ratio it was played at. So that doesn't mean the minimum this time. This time it's the most common ratio. There's only 59 cards here, so you're going to have to slot in that last card. Again, I'm just going by the data available, so this isn't my opinion yet. The next list will be. But for this one, it's just by the data, so that's why it's 59 cards. You have to add 1 more in to make this a complete deck. Like I said, though, sometimes, just sometimes, it's the tech card that wins you that event. So don't necessarily just discredit these and play this exact deck list. We see the deck core in there that was... If we go back a little bit, the deck core, all of these cards and these minimum ratios are in here because obviously it's the deck core. They're there. However, this time we see the minimum ratio. So Grammatala is all of a sudden a 4 of, not a 2 of. We see a second Medusa got it added in. A few more Maleficents are there. We got a couple more B preps are put in. How Far I'll Go is a 4 of instead of a 2 of. So again, this is the most common played ratios as opposed to the minimum ratios, which again, minimum is the lowest amount. 7 can play it one way, 1 plays it the other. Minimum, common, minimum, common. But when we're building out the deck, we see Maui comes in here, still a very, very strong card, as well as Maui Half Shark. I think this is like the only deck I like Half Shark in. I'm not huge on the card. I get that it's overstated, and I get how strong it is, but late game, I feel like most other Ruby decks have better options. However, this deck, because of the ramp, can get to it sooner. And if you're getting to it on, say, turn 5, well, or even turn 4, now you have my attention. Now this is a threat that comes down too early for your opponents to deal with it. So I like Maui Half Shark in Ruby Sapphire way more than I do in any other deck. Kind of like the Mufasa, the ruler of Pride Rock, I don't like in this deck. I like Maui Half Shark in this deck a lot. The Sisu Empowered Sister, that's that one, right? I think it's like the Emboldened Warriors, the 3-cost, Daring Visitor, and then Empowered Sibling, Sisu, the 8-drop, board wiping the 2 strength or lower characters. This card is very strong. Shift Sisu is no joke. It's something you have to be aware of. If they have 6 ink and a Sisu on board, you have to either deal with it or be ready to eat the big Sisu. Sometimes you just have to hope they don't have it, but sometimes you have to hold back your hand and be ready for the board wipe so then you can come back on your next play and not just outright lose the game. What other cards do we see? We see Hideaway in there. It's a little bit of item and location removal. Vision bumped up to a 4 of instead of the 3 of that the minimum ratio was. Let It Go, another form of removal. Vitalisphere is a really nice card as well. For those who aren't privy to what it does, the Vitalisphere is the one where you can banish this item, pay 1 ink, and chosen character gains rush and +2 this turn. So it's a 1-drop, you put it down. Say you put Vitalisphere down on 1 and all of a sudden then Tipo down on 2. You play your Tipo, you ink a card, you pop your Vitalisphere. Actually, you can't do that because you have to pay the 1. You have to pay the 1. So turn 3, but you get the point. Like, you play the card and then you pay the 1 ink. You pop the Vitalisphere. That was a really bad example, by the way. This video is going so good up until there. But you pay the 1 ink, banish it. They get +2 and rush. So it just helps you deal with threats a little bit faster. And that's why Vitalisphere is actually seeing a lot of play as a 2 or a 3 of. If I'm going to play it, I think 2 is probably the ratio I'd go with. Undecided. And I say that as someone who's going to show you his deck list here in a second. When you're playing things like Medusa, like Sisu, like Brawl, that are removal based on your opponent's strength stat, why not play Ice Block? It's an item that lowers their strength stat. Just kind of goes hand in hand. So now, what is the list? If I were to play Ruby Sapphire this weekend at the box tournament in Green Bay at All Access Card Shop, if you're nearby, check it out. This is the list I would probably play. Some of the ratios aren't the most common. That's fine by me. I'm not trying to copy the most common. Some of the cards aren't the same as the tech choice. You know, it's like you don't have to follow the information you see in this video because guess what? 3 weeks from now, there's going to be more cards added to that tech list spot. Just because it's not there yet doesn't mean you cannot play it yet. So this is just supposed to be a helpful, informative video. This is not the end-all, be-all, this is how it is video. Unless it's Green Steel Discard last format, where out of the 30 tops we used, 56 out of 60 cards made the deck core. That video felt almost pointless to make. Not gonna lie. There was 4 tech spots in that deck. The other 56 cards were slotted. There wasn't a whole lot of creativity there. But anyway, we're building the best, and I went with 4 Tipo. It's the best 2-drop for this deck. You're trying to ramp early. Again, you're not trying to play for turns 2, 3. You're trying to play for turns 5 and 6 and further on. You want to get to that point, get there quick. So Tipo, or your Sail the Azurite Sea on 2 is far too important to miss. You want to hit those 2. Playing the big Sisu, I'm a huge fan of her right now. I really like the Daring Visitor Sisu as well, and opening up that Shift Sisu line to me is just too good not to include her. The uninkable count of this deck is actually lower than we've seen it in past formats. This is one of those decks where it was not uncommon to see 20 to 23 uninkables. I want to say I'm at 17 in this list, which I'm actually really happy with given the color combination. So we go 2 Daring Visitor Sisus. Between this and Brawl, it gives you a lot of answers to those early threats. Then in turn 4, or I should say your 4 ink characters, your Tala and your Hiram. This is where we start to get to that consistency of the deck. We got the early ramp, early removal, and then we hit our consistency. Okay, we're starting to get our ink well built up. Now let's go ahead and start getting those cards. Get to the power cards, get to those cards we really want to see. Whether it's locations or just other big characters. Maui, too good to not play. Madame Medusa, you want her at more than one. You really, really do. Half Shark, again, I'm a skeptic of this card, but in this deck, I think it works. So I'm going to go with the slight minority. I want to say out of the, what was it, 6 or 7? I have the spreadsheet on a different tab. I just don't feel like looking. It wasn't in the deck core, so it was less than 8. I think as 6 players were playing Half Shark, and I want to say that 4 of them had it at 3 and 2 had it at 2. I'm going to go with the 2. I needed the spot, and I'm like, this is a card that I'm not as big on to begin with. It's going to be the easy one for me to drop down. Sisu, Tamatoa, Maleficent. I think the 3-4-3 here is just perfect. No need to change it. Really like that. Hideaway. Could you get rid of the Hideaway? You probably could, but the utility is nice and it's inkable. Having inkable utility is never a bad thing. You don't want it, you're not feeling it, ink it. Easy. Done. Move right on. We already talked about the C. Then all of a sudden we get to Vision. Vision is just consistency, consistency, consistency. That's where Lorcana is at. We have hit the point where every deck should be considering consistency so much at this point. Like your removal, your consistency, your win con. What are they? Brawl is our removal. How far I'll go? Consistency. Ramp gets you to your removal. Gets you to your win con. Best of both worlds. I still like 3 B preps. I think that this card is too good to play. I've seen some people actually only playing 1 B prep. I don't know about that. Like, you know you're only playing 1. Your opponent doesn't know that. But when they hit that 1 off the Ursula, when they whole new world that 1 away, then you get to that late game, you're like, okay, B prep. I don't have a B prep. I like B prep at 3 in the deck personally. The 2 Vital Sphere, 2 Ice Blocks, 4 Popsicles. That's just going to be standard there. It's draw 1. It's an item. It's heals your character if you really need it to. And then the 1 Lucky Dime. I actually am really happy to see 1 Lucky Dime picking up. I liked 1 right from the start. When this card first came out, I liked 1 Lucky Dime. It sucked when you were playing things like 1 Jump Ahead because you don't know if you inked it. And for that reason, I get it. But now we're not playing any of those cards that just ink off the top of your deck without knowing, right? How far I'll go, you get to look at both cards. So at least this way, if you ink it, you know that you inked it. You're not building your plans. You're not, oh, if I get it, I can win. You already know it's gone at that point. So link is down below for the Dreamborn link for this deck. Hopefully you guys liked it. Again, I love doing this kind of deck breakdown because it not only shows good information like the deck core, tech cards, it's using tried, true, and proven deck lists. Again, spreadsheet for all the tracking top information is linked down below. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, like, share, and subscribe for the giveaway. 5,500 subscribers. Let's get a case of cards and give it away. It's that easy. Hit that button. Until next time, guys, take care.